team for coming through with the news at 10. They're back at 11 with more news updates. My name is Scutter, the Q with the Scutterlizer, standing in for Folaka Sage, the newborn queen who is out and about, like I said earlier, and Victoria Falls for the Ramsar Convention, aka the COP Summit, happening until the 31st of July 2025. The second hour of the Capital Crunch on a Monday gets us into Detox. It's a very, very special show where we talk about drug and substance abuse, and we proffer solutions in terms of how we can help each other in that particular regard. My team from Bachapang is in the studio. We'll be talking to them shortly. So make sure you at 17 minutes after 10 on Capi Talk 100.4 FM. Harare's Heartbeat. We get into Detox, a very, very special part of this Monday morning show, because we touch on one of the most recent social disasters, if I can put it that way, in the form of drug and substance abuse. And many have said that purposelessness, the degradation of values, and experimentation is the cause of drug addiction. But is this really the reason why addiction is a modern day plague? And that's why we focus on perhaps trying to understand how all this comes into play, and hopefully by the end of it, also proffer solutions in terms of how we can deal with the scourge of drug and substance abuse. Joining us in studio is our team from Bachapang, as usual, making sure that we get a better understanding of the issues that we speak about here. And of course, they offer free substance and drug addiction screening, brief intervention, and of course referral to treatment as well. Today we've got a very, very interesting conversation, but I want to believe it's a continuation as well in terms of MDMA, otherwise known as Ecstasy or Molly, further exploring its implications, especially amongst women. Tendai, good morning to you, and thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. Good morning to our listeners.
Awesome stuff. Our social worker there, Tendai, from Bachapang, also in the company of a junior social worker today, Rutendo Musasekwa. Good morning to you, Rutendo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Awesome. Yeah, so when I looked at this, Tendai, I mean, most of the time I think we were speaking about drug and substance abuse amongst men and its effects and but also I think it's important to rope women into the conversation as well, because I think they're equally affected. We've lost, sisters, mothers, to drug and substance abuse. I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think it gets a little bit more painful when it's women, for me at least. Because what would we be without women? If we want to be honest, we really can't operate without women. So that one woman that we lose to the streets and in form of drug and substance abuse means an entire generation is lost. And for me, to see, look, this could easily be my sister hooked on these things, could easily be my mother. And it's sad as well because it means there's a child or children who are going to suffer.
Exactly.
And from there. But yeah, maybe I'll leave it to you to just break the ice on this particular conversation about maybe the difference. Let's start with the difference in terms of when a man and a woman are hooked onto the drugs. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. These days, kuna mutete umwe panyema drugs. It used to be a man's problem, I would say.
Yeah.
But lately, we have realized that a number of women are affected. Mkaenda kuma rehab, I think the only difference is women are still stigmatized and labeled as singaite kudarika varume. So toti vanhu vakangoona kuti mukadzi ari kushandisa madrugs obatonza uinzenza uyu. That's the label inotanga kuidiswa. So you get to realize kuti vakawanda varume ndo vanowanirwa help more than the women.
Yeah.
Because kazhinji society ikangwerekana yalabela munhukadzi kuti nzenza, yes will be withdrawn.
Yeah.
Unlike murume angatingonzi pane zviri kunetsa ngabatsiro but vakadzi usually they are sidelined.
Yeah.
So in terms of the difference, like you were saying kuti kana zvichiitirwa kumunhu wechikadzi it's an entire generation inenge yatorasika usingamboiti. Tikutarisa vana, tikutarisa the family inenge iri affected. Yeah, it's really painful, especially kuvakadzi. And then the other issue in kuti they are more vulnerable, especially when they are intoxicated or under the influence of my drugs.
Yeah,
we have had my sexual abuses, aganyanya. They're taken advantage of in different ways that you can even never think of. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I just want to get an understanding. Do you treat these cases differently when we've got maybe one of two scenarios where so this girl is hanging out with a group of guys, and then they introduce this drug to this person, vis-a-vis when she is the one with the intent and she actively goes to seek out the drugs. Are these issues treated differently in terms of how you handle them?
Not really different. Why would I say that? Remember, kuti munhu kana ava addicted anopishwa the drug.
Yes.
Alright.
Yes.
So achitanga anogona kunge introduced by a group of friends. Tinogona kuti ipapo vanhu vanoona kuti victims sure, and because introduced something chiri new. But nekufamba kwenguva zvinogona kuita phase out from our eyes kuti victim because teta kumuona akupesiwa ega.
Right.
Akuta soti ndiye akutota se akurifambira.
Got it.
And on the other ends munotomuona akutokwanisa kutointroduce vamwe. But chatanga ndochata sei ndochachenjeza because introduce and our hooked yatova addiction.
Right.
It's no longer an issue of a choice.
Okay.
But now how to function with the drug. Yeah. So no difference in engaging.
So what's the introduction to the solutions? When do you begin with, when it comes to women and how you are then trying to help them recover?
Okay. I would say with women, most of the times women are vanyanya kunensa than men. Most of the time when you approach a woman, rekunetsekana issue ma drugs. Vazhinji vacho vano accept that they have a problem because intervention normally has to start. Panotanga kuva effective has to start. Panotanga munhu ku accept kuti ane a challenge and actively wants help.
Right.
Saka with most women vanobvuma kuti I know I have a problem and I need help. Right. Then kuita vamwe vekutoti haasi kuzviona kuti pane problem anengashuti hama dzangu amaivangu ndovakutondinetsa ndovarota sei. Saka ipapo tinoassesa toona kuti in terms of functioning yemunhu akamira sei. Munhu ari kukwanisa kuita the day to day functions here haasi danger to herself or others here. Then if we establish kuti the client in question is now a danger to herself and others, then taku invoke the mental health act kuti veukama kana vepedyo vakidzani vakwanise kumutsvakira rubetsero nekuti pamutemo we are obliged kuti vakwanise kuita se kubatsira help because ega pachezvake asati asvika papoint yekuaccept that ane problem but kutaura kuti atova a danger to herself or others. Tinozviona se muri kuona kuti munhu anenge angori heavily intoxicated haana fixed abode asi kugara pamba. Muri kungoona kutoti kana ane mwana wacho ari kungosiiwa ari kungoneglectwa. Vamwe ndo vatori violent. I remember this other time taitaura naFolaka about a story yeumwe mwana wechisikana akarova gogo vake vakamubata achitora madrugs vakumubvunza kuti uri kuitei ndobata gogo ndokurova. Saka kana atodaro takutona kuti atova a threat to the other people. Yes, saka ipapo ndo patinotangira.
Interesting. Now you spoke about perhaps someone who is taking these drugs but probably are active or probably they are productive in a way. Let's talk about those differences. And I remember you spoke about how it gets easy for us to then label someone, the effects of taking these drugs, because I think it's a very big stereotype then that comes through after that to say, obviously if she's on drugs, she's into prostitution. Obviously, we assume, because she's on drugs, she's into A, B, C, and D. Is it always like that? Or maybe you actually meet someone who's functional or productive, but obviously since they're on drugs, you then see that, there's something amiss in terms of how they're supposed to be functioning on a day-to-day.
Yeah. So my cases are no siana either way. You could see a number of people actually. They are productive. But go to shine some drugs like he say I to in that tabasara I to deliver. Some mnukwanza kuona, some gonna get musurutoona. Ngote to send now, ngote to Anton position of influence, but mukwasa as a speaker.
Yeah.
Saka normally pa notanga kupinda identification is a point of dysfunction.
Right.
No patotanga kuona no pane a problem. Kana munhu ari kuenda kubasa ari kutosvika achitoita matask ake ABC, no one will question. Handiti munhu wese anofarira a productive employee, handiti or productive team member.
Yeah.
But the moment yekuti pane a variance manje mashandiro aaisiita nguva dzaaisvika pabasa maitiro aita basa kama kuona a difference akuti anga akuregress ndopanotanga kuita vanhu maquestion mark ekuti all right, and now it just piques their curiosity yekuti tinzwise kuti ko kamari peace uyo chicha kuitika mazuva ano ari kuita kunge pane kakuselekta kaakuita ndipo unozoita further uzonoti no peace pane zvaari kutora saka vanhu ivo vanoita se vanotosiyana because kutori nevamwe vanotozviti ainini I'm a functional alcoholic anototora
and they are proud of that in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, unotonzwa achitokuzoti I'm a functional alcoholic, but my implications manje they always catch up with you later.
Absolutely. Maybe before we get into, the work that you do itself, talk to me about just the feeling of it, knowing a fellow woman, is into drugs, or maybe the cases that you've bumped into. Equity, you as a fellow woman, you feel for another woman. Talk to me about that feeling and how it makes you feel.
Okay, I feel like it makes me feel sad, and it's because this person end up what maybe ask to pursue my goals, like in my visions, because sometimes taking my drugs, affect her I envision herself in the future, or thinking could actually say in the future. So that pain kuti arikumbofunga about the next thing chachada kuita here, or arikufunga about the future self yake kuti achanga kuita say and so forth and stuff. But at the other side, it will be because of my situations achienda through, and my situations achindogona ngendisinga masive could like kumba kwavo maybe kune this and that, and namunhu wekuita say wekutaura naye through this issue and so forth. So sometimes it will be beyond the person's control. So it's something chiri painful kuti this girl arikuita this, and asikuziva futi kuti it would damage a future more. It's more like my solutions atinoshandisa for our problems today ariku create my problems edu for tomorrow, and those problems they might be bigger than the current one. So
absolutely. Why end up to end up, because I then wanted to ask kuti my case I'm not sangana now chicha vanenge vachitaura kuti might have been the cause, and you spoke about maybe kuti pamwe kumba kune zvekutonetsa, but have they found it easier to those that have been affected? Do they find it easier to talk to perhaps a woman pamwe matora samanhu muda mubatsira zviri easier for them to say it's easy for me to converse to a woman than to a man?
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a situation yekuti munhu kuti kumba kwake na munhu wekutaura naye, or maybe see that free kune ma friends ake as well, and then if you create a situation yekuti anofila free to express zvaari kufila and to talk about zvaanosangana nazvo kumba, because munhu angonozotaura zvaakusangana nazvo kumba, because anenge achitya kuti like we are Africans, nangonopopoterwa kunzi ukufanele so and stuff, because sometimes we're supposed to offer guidance as family members, but we fail to do so, and then tongo popota toti hausukutadza kufunga zvakanaka and so forth. So munhu panomu offer that space yekuti ari kufila safe kutaura newe, so yeah, anokwanisa kushare more.
It makes it easier for them to taura newe. Interesting. Maybe let's take it from there, Tendai. That situation where they're not really comfortable to fully express what's going on with them. Are there ways and mechanisms and methods that you use to perhaps try and to get someone to soften up and then easily be comfortable enough to share?
All right. So zvinotangira pa etinoti therapeutic alliance muchishona notaura kuti kurapa muushamwari.
Okay.
So you need to establish that connection with whoever ari kuuya. From the first engagement yamunotanga kutoita aufana ubva warazori serious chero even body posture yako as a therapist munhu atanga kusvikira inofanira kuratidza kuti you're welcoming.
Okay.
The environment itself inofanira kuratidza kuti it's a space in privacy. And of course paunongoshtaura naye unotomuashura nyaya confidentiality.
Right.
Because kazhinji munhu anenge ari under the influence of madrugs anenge ari paranoid. Saka tanga kufunga kuti right information yandiri kuvunzwa vachaita sei naye kwavakadisclose kwakazonitevera akati takuda toziva kuti wakamaona madrugs avaitora. Saka inofanira kunyatsoashura the person kuti confidentiality panapa handizotaurire mumwe munhu, asi muconfidentiality imomo unofanira kumuudza again ma-exceptions so that haazovhunduke kana makuzobudisa dzimwe nyaya. Because isusu as a professions tine ma-limitations ekuti confidentiality we can breach it kana taona kuti zvaataura can be a danger to himself or herself or others. Vafanana nekuti munhu ari kukuudza nyaya yake ubva kuudza kuti ini mwana wangu ndaitongomusiya. I remember there was other conversation mukadzi aingosiya mwana pasango uenda unoita zvaari kuita ozodzoka omutora later. Umwe aitosiya amumwisa doro so that anobva adhakwa osara arara then uenda anoita zvaari kuita. Saka munhu achikutsanangura izvozvo patori nechild endangerment. Saka as much as ndakuashura nyaya confidentiality but now pane ma-exceptions.
Right.
Kana kuti wondudza wototi right nini murume wangu ari kundishungurudza but nhasi ndiri kutofunga kuti ndikatenga poison ndosvika mhana nomuisira muchikafu. So as much as I have to keep
do some of them actually share that that stuff like that?
Vamwe vanokudza ma-intentions, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, mumwe anotokudza ma-intentions ekutoti ndikuda kutonozvipfuudza inini pakizvo.
Wow.
Vazhinji vanotokudza especially harm towards themselves vanokudza kana kuti ningi anofanira kundipa space because akaramba achitaurisa zvaari kuita inini ndogona kumubaya. Saka mufanira kugara conscientize and sensitize the family kuti you know what pane relationship ida kugadzirwa otherwise ine ma-implications eti pane mumwe munhu anokwanisa kukuwadza.
Wow. Yeah. It's a lot to take in a scenario that you've had to deal with. Mudzimai anenge achitora madrugs.
Alright. So let me reference it to nyaya yemoli yatiri kutaura nezvayo. Right. So Molly is not a locally produced substance or drug.
Okay.
Ecstasy, produced elsewhere in the Western countries. It's beyond our borders. So this is a synthetic drug. In English, it's a stimulant, but with the psychedelic properties. Highly hyper energy, but at the same time, alter your sensory perceptions.
Okay.
So zvinoitika ndezvekuti painogadzirwa vanogadzira vachisiyanisa. Hakuna, I would like to believe that hakuna so manufacturer ndozikanwa kuti uyu ndiye anogadzira.
Okay.
Saka mumwe nemumwe anogadzira and anogadzira zvichifita a particular target market yake. And at the same time they try to hide from the law enforcement. Saka sometimes vanotry kuda kuisa other substances so that are easily detectable.
Okay.
Vanoiwandisa sometimes in candy, sometimes in particular tablets. Sometimes alter my ingredients. So the worst case yandakasangana nayo was a case yekuti the ingredients angakagadziriswa ecstasy iyoyo yanga iri akafanana neimwe inonzi gamma.
Okay.
Gamma ivanoiti liquid ecstasy. Saka the liquid ecstasy ine ma-properties ekuti dissolve quickly kana yapinzwamo any solution, produce any smell, produce any taste, and haibudisi kana any color.
Okay.
Saka meaning kuti ukaisa mumvura iwewe within a few seconds inenge dissolve as if nothing was ever poured in your drink. Haunzo kuchinja kwetaste awete say. Saka nongosoti it's just my usual water and you drink it. Not only that, kana uchingo wainwa from the time of intoxication until the time I was sober, unogona tadza ku remember anything.
Wow.
So the worst cases that we have attended to ndiyokutoti munhu akaitwa inonzi day trip. The phenomenon ye day trip ndiyekuti munhu munenge mati let's go out komana nemusikana then mukomana pamwe tengera musikana drink ka obati ndakuita uchigentleman ya ndikuvhura drink yazvo paari kuvhura ari kubva spike and ari kusai substance anonzwa kuti haukwanisi kuidetecta quickly ibva yadissolve.
How prevalent are those cases where someone is just taken advantage of unknowingly?
Akawandisa. If we to engage with say what vanoita nezve HR around my students, vanyaso kukuza the cases akawandisa ema-day trip.
Wow.
Akawandisa kuti vanantu batwa chibharo atuto we are going out. Saka the mechanism anowadzoshandisa kufacilitate that usually some of these party drugs. Saka after that musikana akapewa drink bva anwa and never knew kuti munhu ararwa naye and akachinjaniswa narume vakasiyana siyana. And thereafter some weeks later I found out that she's pregnant but she can't even recall kuti zvakafamba sei. Saka I can imagine the trauma yekuti munhu akuzoestablish that I'm pregnant asikuziva kuti akarara nani because zvirwere zvakasangana nazvo obviously it was unprotected.
Yeah.
Saka yeah.
Yes. Yeah, hectic stuff. Rutendo, coming back to you. I just want to get the mindset in terms of dealing with such issues, because I want to believe it's your own emotional stress on you guys as well, even as social workers. So how do you manage to navigate, issues that are whereby sometimes when you watch it, you're actually saying this is just too much to handle? How do you deal with it?
I think one of the way and dealing stress and doing through kutora nevamwe ma issues avo is maybe listening to music. One, two, kumbo ita self talk.
Okay.
Kind of kutozvita out and shitaura this was bad and so forth and stuff. It helps kuti and kutaura nemunhu, but I'm just saying it out, kuzvibuditsa out. So
yeah,
it helps.
Yeah. I want to believe there's also maybe counseling for you guys as well.
Yeah.
Because, I can just imagine, and then you guys interact with, the affected on a daily basis. I want to believe it's just too much. So, we spoke about the first step, yeah? What are the other, methods that you use, probably as you get deeper in terms of the recovery of a person and how you are helping them get through this?
All right. Okay, so I think chibatsira hama dzedu idzi zvakawanda zvinhu zvatinenge tiincorporate in terms of the recovery program and the treatment yacho. Zvinosanganisira the involvement of the family, because it's very rare kuti muite a client or a patient ari kurecover from substance asina ma-relationship akakanganisa.
Okay.
Asina bitterness with the family. It's very, very unusual. Munotoona panenge kukanganisira ngari. Saka kazhinji munozonyanya kukanganisira ndeyekuti pakatadza kuita that mediation vanhu voita reconciliation vonzwisisana, that becomes a step back munhu paanobuda akufana kuireintegrate with the society, because vanoramba tingoti wakatidira kai wakazodai akaita chinhu chidiki donza asi madrug era. Saka we have to involve the family vonzwisisa, because never the family vanenge vatori equally affected. You get to realize kuti most of the time tinokwanisa kubatsira the user akatorikava papoint yekuti takutoti we are ready kuti aite reintegrate within the society, then mozo establish that no, the family asati yahila inenge ituzoti kumba kwacha tisati ready kuda umuona. So zvinomudzosera kumashure, zvinenge zvida kuti family itrese itwe incorporated, then again kutsvagawo ma-activities anomubatsira, because we normally focus on 3 pillars. Change of environment yakakosha.
Okay.
Then totaura meaningful occupation, then tozotasa nyaya family support system. Saka ndataura family support system, then takuenda ku change of environment. Change of environment inobatsira kuti munhu aite a fresh start. because normally kana munashandisa ma-substance within a particular location or environment anocreate anonzi maneural associations with the environment. Mukasvikawo pafood court chinotanga kutouya musoro mozwa kuti food anditi ideally inotanga kunyaya food saka ma-associations anenge ari between the brain and the environment. Saka zvinofanira munhu ashandisa ma-substance kana muri environment makandoziva kuti chiro kanzi handina mari ningi anokwanisa kundibatsira ningi ndokwanisa kuenda kuna ningi saka anoda that change environment kuti ambobvisa miyedzo yese nema-temptations. Then in addition to the change of environment, meaningful occupation, remember what idleness is also a key factor kwenye substance use. Saka muda ku-addressa nye idleness munhu awane something chanoito chinomukeepa occupied, something chinomupa purpose. Kungava kudzokera kuchikoro tati ma-courses kana vocational training. For others vanga vachitonesikana kumabasa kune vamwe vanhu vatinototora kuti angatori pabasa but azvichaiti vekubasa kana hama dzodzwa toti tokumbira mutibatsire munhu vetoda kuti adzokere kubasa. Saka tinotozofacilite imwe inonzi occupational reintegration yekuti takudzosera munhu mbijana kuti adzokere kusvika kuva a functional person anokwanisa kudzokera kubasa. Saka there are a lot of processes anenge ari involved.
Interesting. Rujendo, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from dealing with such cases, especially involving women banning watching some drugs?
I feel like we have to be mindful how we address each other because mnantanga kutora drugs because of stress, depression, and depression yacho yabhepi inenge yabva kuma friends, ku family, with my friends, the girls we play in my friend groups. So maybe my friend group ipapango nangopatone wana kunyeiwa or so forth. So mukunyewa mom also should discover acheta stress here also tanga kutsvaga how should I cope chichichi and so forth. And I'm going to saudza my friends like achi ndaziva kuti makaita this and this pamusoro pangu or situation yekuti vasikana vanotorerana mukomana right mumwe anoita stress and kuti uconfronte munhu kuti wanotorera mukomana wangu chichi and stuff zvinonyadzisa saka munhu akutsvaga maways ekuita ekucopa. So I learned kuti we should be mindful of how we address one another and how we talk to one another.
Interesting. Pressure, do you think pressure inoshanda the same, for you guys as girls, even pressure kuzopinda drugs as well, as compared to isusu vakomana? Because I'm thinking of a scenario kuti maybe my friend groups are mune pamwe, obviously there's one ari pamusoro kana ari kunzi ndiye, sort of the lead of the group. And obviously dzimwe nguva we all want to have cool friends. Hapana munhu asingade friend iri cool. Saka na Tendai cool friend mugang redu Tendai akanditi shamari start drugs. You anosingadi regera but unenge wakatosara because this is the coolest thing. Does pressure work the same for women?
Okay, for my view, I feel like it's 50-50.
Okay.
Let's say kuvakomana, like you said, kuti unenge uchida cool. Let's say kuti baby unenge une my friends are quite rich and you're in the wrong friend group and but then also kuva because of sugar.
Yeah.
So one stress yekuti ndakuda ku live up to standard rema friends angu chichi and stuff. Firstly, you're gonna find ways zekuita mali. So maybe you can go kune gambling or and so forth. After that, you might fail to reach out to the standards of my friends because you have going to get generational wealth and you don't have that. But I was going to understand that and dinner this.
Okay.
Fast forward, after I go gambling, chichi jaramba kshanda chichi and so forth. Back wakuzokera chi wakuita zvema drugs just to cope with my friends ako. Obviously, maybe your friends aren't going to go vachitoita zvema drugs. Koya kuvasikana kana utori pa friend group, you move nezvinenge zvichiita friend group rako.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay.
Kuti unenge uchitongoendawo nema standards friend group. Saka my friends ako akati takuenda kubar, you have to go because unema standards akutoita awita live the 50-50 situation.
Saka unotozongoita zvikuitwa ipapo and you end up in a place that you can't come back because ndo zvazvichiitwa time iyoyo and you have to be part of it.
Yeah, especially in uni, it's very common. So
interesting.
Scott,
yes,
you asked a question about how prevalent is it in your market.
Yeah.
You might be surprised because it's not only scanner shit.
Okay.
It's also amongst men.
Really?
Yeah. So the case here Ndakambo attended to, mukomana akaenda out with my friends. And you know, normally with I don't know if it's common also kuma girls, because normally my friends komana akaenda out, get introduced to other friends, and you know, as men, we don't need to know the background details. Nongopera dere sengori wangu.
Might I say,
you don't need to know the names and the details. And is it? So the guy went on trauma my drinks, then he was spiking on another man. I see Rowana Ecstasy or my party drugs. Wow. And I see my party drugs. Then Kutiazo Zotivaka say from the bar until Zosika in the morning. Agamuka Moxeni are in a hotel room, and my pants are stained with the blood, and he was in pain. And the other side of the bed, there is a man. Excuse you, my guy, you were just drunk. We just came here to find somewhere to sleep.
Wow.
Saga, I got a confusion. The exchange he had to trace back with a pharmacy. Saga to care ko the web club and dogs of phones or it names because of pharmacy and Dr. Tangrod. This guy invited a kid, Mukabuda Misa. This was Ragat Kaniki. That's when he realized what I say. He was sodomized. Wow. So imagine the trauma of that guy. How we actually did therapy. You know, you could tell the guy is devastated. He's questioning, so am I really a man? Sodomized, being molested by another man. So this is the common phenomenon in my party drugs. Ecstasy.
Tragic, really tragic. I think one of the things that you spoke about it, but the idea of this not being a local drug, obviously. I stand corrected, but it to me it then sounds as if it's something that is not easily accessible in terms of even the pricing of the drug itself. So in some of the cases that you deal with, do they speak about how they access them? Because if it's something that is under wraps, then surely it's something Chekuti, you actually need access, and you need to know, someone who's connected for you to get access to the drugs.
Yeah. So from my cases, I wonder at no and Sangara now. Normally, I know that this is a drug of the elite, Ecstasy.
Okay.
Yeah, na cannabis, na broccoli, and go on in the the high density suburbs.
Right.
So Kanatago so the other side of Samora, no tanga na Ecstacy, na LSD, drugs, mare. And normally you can what the association is normally people from well-up backgrounds, not someone are go to trap batanita. I want to know what you batanita. And they are not those that is carry and they have extra to spare.
Wow.
And because we told them we were from average background, we would have no association with the van from our well backgrounds. No one knows it whole rope in cultivation sema substances. But for most of those people are kwanise sustain unless canavare amongst the gang it kwanisa tenga vanokwanisa kuafford. They are no the old man networks out.
Right.
Yeah, but this is not a drug that you find in my ghettos.
So is there a difference even in recovery in terms between men and women? If it makes sense, like do women recover faster when they have not been rehabilitated, or probably it could be the same as men?
Well, I'll answer that on two ends. I would say from my experience, women never need motivation. Yakawanda kudarika a number of men.
Okay.
I think the driving force is the societal background to support if you mess it up. And again, you quickly change the narrative from being someone who stigmatized to nzenza. And the ones who want to help or rather the good picture, to show I'm a changed person.
Right.
And for Wakawanda that we have dealt with, most of them side kutimana wangu has been that source of strength that propels me to recover. Then on the other hand, it differs with the individual. And it differs depending on what substances. Angashitora in what quantities, and akatanga kuitora when and for how long now, because get to realize that most of people are not damages and are severe munhu akatanga kutora ma-substance before the brain is fully developed, kutora between and less than 21 years, because the fully development year brain inenge between 21 years to 25 but what brain yemunhu fully developed. Saka before then you get realized when akawanda antangata ma-implications in such a way that in the future nozonanda unga kutoita ma-disorders anenge atori induced nema-substances, ma-mental disorders. So zvinotosiyana nevanhu.
Rutendo, finally, what do you want to say to someone listening, especially the women, in terms of, the effects of drugs, and, especially someone anosangana nema cases kubasa, and how damaging it is, for women.
Okay. Maybe I would say find my better coping mechanisms. If you're going through a lot, or onema depressions, stress, or your family setting is going to find someone you can confide in, find someone you can talk to, and don't go to my drugs as a solution, because in my long effects, I think I can't say fast. So to talk to someone, it's way better.
I like it. I think it's super important as well to find someone to talk to. I have a friend of mine who calls me and I'm gonna call you 10 minutes later, and so I start listening, and at some point he then talks about it. So it becomes 30 minutes, an hour, but you can talk with this person, I let off something off their chest, and it really helps. So like you're saying, finding someone to talk to. And from you, Tendai, finally, how do we wrap this up in terms of just how we can help our sisters out there, our mothers, Surely you can't tell me to no see and then you go, and then, it's really difficult to just think that someone would do something like that.
Yeah, it is horrendous from that lens. And vakawanda vanobva vatungoti no, yes, the women is evil, but tetas vatoti munhu kutorwara panguva haachazvifungi. Saka chakangokosha ndeyekuti ungogara wangoiswa esafeguard yekuti usapinda mazviri. And kune vamwe vakutoti vachangopinda mazviri, kana kuti pane mumwe atori mazviri ari kushaya kuti ndingabuda sei, there's always help that is available. Wana rubatsiro nguva ichiripo. Anyway, kana pana anenge achitora zvinodhaka kustruggle neaddiction, ngatisamhanye kunongedzera munhu kutanga kumuudza kuti chidhakwa nzenza. Hakuna munhu anoda kuita chiseko chenyika. Munhu wese ukaona achitoita zvekutora masubstances, it's a cry for help. Rutendo agara ataura kuti make sure kuti watasei wana wekutaura naye. Sometimes it's difficult for them kuti auye achiziva kuti no, I want to talk. But mukagara mangoona the signs, imbomuswededzewo pedyo. You know what? Let's talk. Is there anything that you want to let go? So I can't go coach.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Maybe for those that need contacts and to get in touch with Bachelor, how do they do so?
Alright, we have our telehealth line. It's 062 379 751. I'll repeat it again, 062 379 751.
Awesome. Tendai, thank you so much for your time. Richendo as well, thank you so much for at least with a woman's voice as well, and I think it helps when you speak about such issues, because Kanawachinzwa, we're a woman who's speaking on it, it really makes it easier for them. But thank you so much, guys, for this conversation, and to more conversations like this, just conscientizing each other, and find someone to talk to, find coping mechanisms that are not harmful to yourself, and I think it will do you more good than harm if you just find a way of dealing with it. And also, as well, if we see signs and symptoms, it's our cue to act there and then, so that someone gets help. This has been Detox each and every Monday morning between 10 and 11. We get into conversations on drug and substance abuse.